How y'all doing? Woo woo! Y'all ready for this? All right, all right. For those that don't know, I'm Floyd Rance. This is my lovely wife, Stephanie Rance. We are the founders of the Run&Shoot Filmworks Martha's Vineyard African American Film Festival. This is our 16th year. Please give us a round of applause. You all look lovely. Give yourselves a round of applause. All right, tonight we're bringing to you a phenomenal director. His name is George Tillman. He's from Chicago. Is Chicago in the house? Chicago's always in the house. All right, before we get started, I want everyone to please put your phones on vibrate or to turn them off. And just remember, tonight is our white night, so if you're coming back, if you want to participate, please wear your white. I know I look lovely. Thank you. We will be at Lola's, partying the night away. That starts after the Bobby Brown story. Hopefully you're all joining us for the Bobby Brown story. And without further ado, I'm gonna let my wife take over.
Well, this is going to be a really exciting evening. I'm excited about this. How many of you have read the book? Yeah, that's good. And it's interesting, what we saw on social media, when we started posting about this and getting people excited is that, of course, they were excited about the talent that's coming, Russell and George and Melissa Harris Perry, but the conversation really centered around the book and how people thought the book was amazing and thought-provoking and had a lot of, it just left you with a lot of emotions. And what I saw on our social media pages where people were wondering how George was going to bring this to life. And I can tell you, he has done an amazing job. We're not going to show the whole film. We're just showing clips of it. It comes out pretty soon, and we're super excited. So without further ado, and make sure everybody's ready. All right, without further ado, someone had a potty break. You know how that goes. I love this woman. I think she is amazing. We need her back on television. She's so brilliant. She's so smart. She asks the tough questions and she makes you answer them. Please give a wonderful round of applause for Miss Melissa Harris Perry.
Massive.
Next up, we've got Judith Brown Davis. Judith is the executive director of the Advancement Project. She's going to be a part of the conversation, too. Miss Judith. Next for the conversation, he is in the film and he is outstanding. Miss Actor Russell Hornsby. Yeah, give him his respect. He's dope. And last but definitely not least, the director who brought us Soul Food, Men of Honor, the Barbershop franchise, and Notorious. Martha's Vineyard, give this man his respect, Mr. George Tillman, Jr.
I'm so excited. Whoop. I think you're on. Are we hot now?
No, you were on before.
I was on before. Oh, haha. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. So excited to be here with everyone. We had an opportunity to see your extraordinary latest film earlier today. To which I said, Judith Brown Dianis doesn't get to pick the movies anymore, only because it was very early in the morning and I wept my whole face off and then haven't been able to stop talking about it. Why this movie? Why this story?
I think for me, I just felt like when I read the book, I got the book really early, like when it was unpublished. And it was a young writer, Angie Thomas, out of Jackson, Mississippi. I just thought it was amazing. It was her first book, first her first attempt at writing a novel. And I read it. It just felt like she was talking to me. She was talking to our culture. She was talking to African Americans all over the country, my experience. And she's like in her 20s, you know, and I'm in my late 40s. So I was able to connect to her. And I felt like we haven't seen a film, at least in the Hollywood system, that had an African American 16-year-old protagonist through her point of view, through her eyes, that had a strong family, that had a father present, and deals with the whole police brutality and race. I just felt like that was in a movie that I haven't seen, that was honest. I knew it was going to be maybe a little tough to get it going, but we stuck with it, and that's really why I connected to the material.
Who's read the book? Who's read The Hate You Give? Done brought the book. Have the book in the room with you. Does anyone else who's here, did you have that sense of this young woman, this extraordinary first-time author is speaking my story, or a story that is that of my family? Our story. Oh, first person plural, right? Ours. Do other folks feel that? And yet, to take written material and turn it into the visual is not, it's not simple. It's not just a matter of pointing a camera at it. You have to make a whole set of choices. I want to talk to you a little bit about those choices. What for you was the first most important casting decision?
The first casting decision, I felt like you need someone to play Star who's 16 years old, who can carry all those emotions, because she's a young girl who deals with identity issues. She lives in the inner city, Garden Heights, but she goes to a white private school. So she has to she mastered the ability to go back and forth around her white friends. She fits and changes her personality for this particular world. And when she's around Garden Heights, she learns everything through her mom and through math. And so here's a person who has those different personalities. And at the same time, she has to be a person who goes through this traumatic experience, seeing a young friend of hers who her first crush, you know, shot by a police officer. So these two worlds kind of clash together. So I needed an individual who can carry two different personalities, who can be able to carry the weight of the emotional side for the film, but not go too far. And at the same time, to have a maturity. At the same time when I was reading the book, Amanda Steenberg was reading the book the same time I was reading. And it was unpublished, and we both was chasing the movie. When I met her, I just felt like she was perfect. And at the same time, Angie, when she was writing the novel, had her in mind as well. But what really connected me, that I felt as a director that she was my choice, was she is, and you know, she's a woman, young woman who lived in Inglewood, California, but she goes to a white private school. She was afraid to tell her white friends to have them come over to the house, and if they did come over to the house, she give them certain directions. Can't go down Crenshaw Boulevard, go a different way. So she was always afraid of being herself. So that ability, and the ability that she was able to just look and listen, which is the hardest thing any actor and actress can do, is just listen. And as soon as I connected her and Russell together, right away, I just remember the first time Russell said in that rehearsals, "Wow, you listen."
Yes.
So that was my choice.
It was interesting for me to watch the film. Judith and I were sitting one right behind the other this morning, and I think typically I watch these films, I think of myself as this happens when you get old, young people. I used to think of myself as the lead, right? Like you are the star, you are a star in the star. Suddenly, I'm the mama. The star is my baby. The star is my girl navigating the world. But that isn't my husband, that is my dad. Maverick is my dad. I mean, some of the challenges Maverick faced, my dad didn't. But my dad is the dude who signed the birthday cards, "The struggle continues." Like 5 years old. Like, so every single year you would get the number of dollars that is, that is, right? So like next year, I like in October, I'll get a birthday card and it will have $45 in it. Thanks, right? Like I know for sure. And it will say that the struggle continues, Daddy. Like, as it has every year of my life, like 10. And like, so like any book he wanted you to read, he'd put on the top shelf and tell you not to read that. Like Eldridge Cleaver, Soul on Ice, top shelf. Don't read that. So as soon as Daddy leaves, what do? You climb up to the top shelf, get the book. Oh my God, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Right, so that's my daddy. So Maverick's my dad, even though that's my kid. Our story. How do you walk inside that character?
Well, there's a saying that says, we do the work for the people, but on the art's terms. And
One more time?
We do the work for the people, but on the art's terms. And on the art's terms, it's saying, there is no right or wrong, there is only truth. So what Russell feels like he has to do as an actor and as an artist is bring my level best and bring my truth, the truth that represents, my history, our history, that represents our anguish, that represents our pain and our passion as black men. You can't run from that. Do you know what I mean? And, there was and Mav represents that. Mav, being a man who spent 3 years in prison, there was a story, a character called in August Wilson called King Hedley II. And in King Hedley II, he spent 7 years in prison for killing a man who cut him, left a 7-inch scar on his face. He talks about the mark he has on him. And Mav has a mark on him that he can't get rid of. You know what I mean? It's that mark of prison, that mark of being black, that mark of your history. And I think every black man walks with that mark of sorts, and you're trying the best to rid yourself of it. And so what I chose to do was just dive into that and be honest. And as I was sharing with Melissa backstage, Mav represents a time when boats were made of wood and men were made of steel. These men who had this tough exterior and didn't have an opportunity to show their tender side, didn't have an opportunity to show that they could love and be loved in return, didn't have an opportunity to show that they feel and that they grieve. And so, we had to walk that fine line of being able to show it. But, Angie, in her novel and her brilliant work, she put it in there. And as you were saying, as George was saying, I saw men that helped raise me in that character. I saw men just who I knew. And I continually look to honor them, in this work.
I think we should watch a little bit of it so folks will get a sense of why we are falling all over ourselves behind this.
Yeah, why don't we take a look at it? This is a 5-minute sizzle that we put together of all the scenes, and why don't we take a look at it?